Welcome to Lunch and Learn with Lori and Lori. We are your hosts, Lori Highby, president and owner of Keystone, and Lorry Rifkin, owner of Clarity Management. How are you doing today, Lori?
I'm doing good. It's a great, sunny, beautiful day today. It's time to go get a little vitamin D outside after we do these podcasts.
Yes. I'm excited for the warmer weather that is fast approaching us. So, Lori, a lot of what I'm hearing you talk about in various networking groups and on other individuals' podcasts are the questions that can help bring clarity to your future. What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, all of us face a lot of uncertainty now. And people heard the term a lot, calculated risk. That's on the risk side. But for the opportunity in the future side, it's calculated questions for your future. Asking questions provokes answers. Now, the answers might not be exact, but they are starting. When you do enough questions to get enough answers, even if it's unknown, you start hemming it in to a world that has calculated risk to it.
So where do you start and know what questions to ask?
Well, the future, let's just take it from a business perspective. Our future involves ourselves, employees, customers, vendors. It could involve our families. So you got to ask questions about all that stuff.
So what perspectives are those?
Well, those are the perspectives of the stakeholders in your business. And by asking all those people questions, you get a 360-degree look of what your future could hold. For example, you might say, I want to open next week and I need $30,000 to buy inventory because we haven't had any inventory. But if your banker's perspective is that you're a business that now is going to be too risky, you won't have that money. So by asking your banker ahead of time saying, I'm getting ready to reopen my business, how is my line of credit doing? You might get the answer that we're not going to do a line of credit in your area above $25,000. That tells you need to go take an action to maybe find another bank. So if you talk to a couple of your key customers and they say, business is slow from us, don't ramp up right away, you would know when you open, don't go into full production. So asking these future-oriented questions could give you answers, and sometimes there is no answer. And then that area you're going to have to deal with the uncertainty.
Oh, that's great. So for some reason, when you were talking about asking the questions, I was thinking of it from more of an internal perspective and not so much literally going out and asking these people questions. So it makes sense to really be black and white as much as possible to keep moving business forward. So, but that being said, why would we want to complicate our lives and get involved with all these different conversations when we just want to get back to doing what it is that we're doing?
Well, because I'm advising everyone to stop and develop a go-forward plan. It's exceedingly important to have a plan. I read this morning there's second wave of viruses are hitting cities in China. You could go gung-ho to open, and a second wave comes. Without a plan, you might not be prepared. So it's just putting stuff down, and it should be on a piece of paper that you have a plan. The plan is what you're going to do if situation A happens, situation B. Many people got caught flat-footed when this virus came. So the lesson is you have to start having contingency plans going forward. It's a smart thing to do. And one of the most important things, if your competitors don't do it, you have a competitive advantage.
Yeah, I agree with that. You need to plan for multiple scenarios, without a doubt. Can you give us some examples of some of these questions that you're suggesting we ask?
Sure. One of the first ones is, what did you learn from the period before COVID? You might have heard in the news and done nothing about it. You might have seen this coming, but you were frozen. What questions or things could you have done differently before the virus shut you down? How are your employees going to treat coming back to work? My daughter makes more money in unemployment than she does working. She doesn't really want to go back to work immediately. Are your employees going to be hesitant to come back to work? And what kind of pay raise you might have to give them to get them to come back? This is another important one for many people. Have you dual sourced your supply chains? Many supply chains are disrupted and you have to dual source them. And I would go to the concept, it's very simple, a primary and secondary vendor on everything. Ask the question, did your bank perform on the PPP loan? A lot of banks, I had customers that went to a bank, thought they were getting a PPP loan. Nothing happened, went to another bank and found out the first bank never even applied for them. So you got to know, did your bank perform? If not, you got to ask questions, what type of bank do I need going forward? Should I have 2 bank accounts? As you can see, a non-performance or an issue or an opportunity leads to questions in other areas. I call it the cascading series or waterfall questions. As you go down those questions, you get closer and closer to an answer. Another one I mentioned before is about competitors. How did your competitors perform during COVID? What did they do better than you? What didn't they do right? And finally, this is a personal one. How did your business performance affect your family life? You know, what do you need to do different so your family is not impacted from your business? Or should your family be involved in your business to help you out because you can't hire employees? I know it sounds like a lot of questions, but if you start and write 2 or 3 in each category, you'll see they become easier to do, and the answers will probably astonish many people.
Those are great questions. Those ones are more internal. So you have a combination of like just self-reflective questions, but also outward, conversations that need to be had. But now that I've started asking these questions, what do I do with the answers?
Well, it boils down to having a plan. How are you going to navigate the future? I'm a big believer in having some high-level plans. They don't have to be down to I'm going to order this week or do this week. It should be high level. I'll call it, I don't like the word strategic, especially for small business. It should be your operating plan for 2 to 3 months ahead. It should always be looked at maybe once a month, add a new month on there. And if you do it in bite-sized pieces like that, especially if you're a small business, you will start seeing results. So really it's, I'll call it the small business strategic plan, which really is an operating plan going 2 to 3 months out. Every month, add a new one on there. And it's going to help you navigate. And the thing that it probably will help the most, if done right, it will show opportunities where you could find new business. Business will be different coming out of this crisis. There's going to be a ton of new opportunities. And by asking questions, you're going to find niches where you can make money, especially if you're a small guy competing against large competitors. You're going to have to ask the questions to find a nimble space for you where you can provide a service at a competitive price that the big boys can't do.
Sounds like a lot of work and time.
Everything good in life's a lot of work, Lori.
Yeah, this is true. You got to work hard to make it happen. Any other advice you have to offer?
It really, take an optimistic view, because we've been beaten up and it's easy to go in the pessimistic quadrant of life. There are going to be a ton of small opportunities out there. They're not going to be obvious. They're going to be hard to find. And that's the other reason I'm asking questions myself. I had to ask questions. What am I going to do different? So we're doing a podcast. I'm on other podcasts. I do webinars. You have to ask questions, is the status quo going to help me going forward? And in my position, it wasn't going to. I had to do a change. So really, these questions, what they really do is force you to reevaluate the status quo. And if you're honest and answer them, they're going to lead to action steps. For me, my action step was to get on podcast, create a podcast. So each of us, if we asked even one question today that could prompt an action and do it, that would be a success in your business and personal life.
Oh, that's great. Happy, and I'm sure you're happy to help if anyone does have additional questions. Best way to reach out to you is comment on this LinkedIn post or connect with you online, right, Lori?
Private message me on LinkedIn. You publish our phone numbers, call me. Because one thing, everyone's questions in their business's life could be a little bit different. It isn't one universal set of questions. It could be different for your business. And so what I do is help business owners find the questions that match their business. And then I mentor, not coach you, to take the action steps to make money doing those steps.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. This wraps up another episode of Lunch and Learn with Lori and Lori. We will see you next week for another great episode.
Take care.